One. Hey, everybody. I'm Elysia Bus, host of Horsepower Empowerment Through Connection. And I have the amazing pleasure of getting to interview Alyssa. And so I know this is confusing because we have Alyssa and we have Elysia. Don't worry, we're also in two different countries, just to make things a little bit more exciting for you ladies and gentlemen. So speaking of ladies, she's actually from Ladysmith, a little town on Vancouver Island, which is different than Vancouver City in Canada, which is also different from Vancouver City in Washington State. And apparently there's just so many Vancouvers. It's funny how we can travel around and have so many different cities named the exact same thing. But yeah, so Ladysmith on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, which is a territory in Canada. And she just moved from Alberta. So she's getting to transition through all these cool things. And she is an equine guided mentor, as well as a health and wellness coach. I love having coaches on here since I also do life coaching myself. So I'm going to pass it on to her because she is so well diversified and has such an amazing story that is, as much as I would love to dive into that, she will have just so much more depth to get to offer you in sharing her story. So here you go.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love how we kind of met and collaborated through wonderful world of Facebook. Social media is so amazing for spreading the message. I'm really excited to be here and talk about this because I think it's just such a beautiful form of work and therapy and health and wellness and moving forward in the world. And I think when you can combine that horse medicine and the wisdom of the horses with coaching, you're sort of revamping the way that looks in the world. And then you're also changing the way that horses are seen and held in the world, which I love so much because they have so much to give us, so much wisdom. That happens when you approach it from less aggression and force, and it's more of like a partnership. So really, really profound. It's been the biggest piece of my journey, the biggest piece of my transformation in my life. So did you want me to dive into my story?
Oh, please dive into your story. Yes, I love getting to hear about transformation in the horses and everything that you bring.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So my story kind of starts, I'll jump forward. So I had my kids at 18 and 19. And it was, I got married young as well. And so I was a stay-at-home mom and I got a ton of different yoga teacher trainings and I started to teach people how to teach yoga and I opened a yoga studio. And then my marriage ended very painfully and abruptly. So instead of diving into my yoga studio, I kind of pulled away from that practice and I realized that I had been practicing yoga in more of like a spiritual bypassing way. I talk about that all the time because I was more of a physical practice and the fancy pretzel poses and the name brand clothing and the nice backdrops. And it became less about the mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
So I kind of pulled away from yoga for a little while, closed my yoga studio and stopped teaching. And then I went in a whole nother direction and kind of worked my way through a bit of an eating disorder. I went from like starving myself to binge eating to starving myself to binge eating. And it was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I need to learn what this is about.
I just remembered about this book. I was really excited. I'm sorry, just hearing this. I just want to share this with all of you. This amazing book, Writing Through Thick and Thin.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll have to read that one.
Yeah, I'll message it to you. I'll message it to you later. It's an amazing book. All right, sorry, on with your story. I just had to share it.
No, thank you. I love good books, so I'll definitely be finding that one. So I took a diploma in holistic nutrition and I combined that with all the philosophy. I always talk about yoga on and off the mat. So the physical practice on the mat, but then there's so much more to yoga and that's the piece I call off the mat. So I combined that with holistic nutrition and started coaching people in like holistic nutrition and lifestyle practices. And that was, it was a beautiful experience and I loved it, but there was still a piece missing for me. I was still feeling like I'm not feeling fulfilled. I don't have a passion or a drive here and I'm not quite sure what's going on. And so my dad passed away suddenly and unexpectedly. And I'd always had this niggling in my body to have horses in my life. And like I didn't grow up around them. And I used to go to summer camps as a teenager. I used to go to horse camp. And so it started to kind of plant the seed of horses. And, there was that mirroring happening already, but I didn't recognize it at 15 and 16.
Right.
And so then at 29 years old, I took Western horseback riding lessons and met my first horse and bought her. And the journey that I went on with her, like just totally organically was, because I learned I'd go out to the pasture And she would walk away from me one day and I'd be like, what's your problem? Because I'd had these dreams that with my first horse, we'd be bareback
Right.
through the field.
We've all been there with horses.
Oh yeah,
Like, we
totally. I
totally
was like,
have.
oh, this is going to be the most beautiful adventure. And it wasn't like that at all. She wanted nothing to do with me. And until I started to actually look at what was going on within me when I was with her, and it was like,
Right.
oh, like I'm actually feeling something deeper, but I'm putting on a happy face. And that really freaks horses out. They do not like that. That's an incongruency in
I
mind,
was
body,
just going to
and
say,
spirit.
you were incongruent.
Totally, yes. And she did not like that at all. And so then that evolved to my second horse, and I learned even more from him. I learned boundaries. And so everything that I learned from them was so organic and natural. And I was like, I have got to share this with the world, because the transformation that I went in and the alignment that it brought in my mind, body, and spirit was so profound that I was like, I need to be able to share this with people. So I went and took a mentorship program with Hillary Schneider from Equine Rise, and
Nice.
got certified in this work, and stepped into doing one-on-one coaching with people and guiding them through sort of finding their authentic self and that inner truth, like that alignment of mind, body, and spirit through the eyes of a horse. And so I started to do my one-on-one sessions, and that evolved into programs. And now that's evolved into an Equus facilitation certification program. So I can teach other people how to do this work and share it with the world, and, you know, ripple effect into the collective, and then help how horses are seen and held in the world. So I'm so excited about it, because it has really changed, like, moving through grief, moving through sort of that addiction, you know, of starving myself and binge eating. I call that addiction, because it kind of was. It was a
Oh
cycle.
yeah, no, for sure.
Totally. Yeah. So, and then the spiritual bypassing piece, which is so profound, because I think it's really common in the coaching world and in the yoga community that people practice these practices, but they're not actually doing the work. And that's what was going on in my world. Is I had a rockin' hot body. My life looked perfect from the outside. We had this big, beautiful home, 2 healthy kids. My husband had a great high paying job in the oil field, but inside I was so unhappy, and everything
Yeah.
was kind of crumbling. And it was just, there was an underbelly of stuff. And that's what the horses mirror, is the underbelly stuff. So even though
Subconscious.
yeah, all the things that I've been suppressing, like my dad's death, I didn't deal with it. My parents' divorce, like all of these things, my own divorce, I hadn't dealt with a lot of them. And so when it came to like really aligning my mind and my body and my spirit, the horses were like, okay, no, you don't, you know, we're not going to allow you to show up here and act confident and happy and like everything's well in the world, because we can see right through that mask.
Right.
Yeah, they were so like, no, we're not having that. We want nothing to do with you. And then of course I had to move through all the stuff around like rejection, because the horses didn't want
Yeah.
anything to do with me. And it was such an awakening, my limiting beliefs and, you know, my scarcity mindset and all the things that have unfolded, even in building a business, an online business with the horses. I've had to unpack so much stuff, and it's just been so profound the last few years. So I am so excited to share this work with the world, because it's so huge. It's, what a beautiful blessing to be able to spend time with a horse who are already so grounding and bring you into a
Yeah.
place of awareness and presence. And then they teach you all these amazing things like empowerment and boundaries and all the things you and I were talking about before we started recording. But it's so profound, because they really do. They show up in your life and they mirror exactly. And every time you go out there, it's different. I'll go out there one day and it'll be like a boundary thing. And the next day, and it's like continuous, even though I'm doing this already and now I have an awareness, I'll still go out there with something, even with a client, and then they'll still be mirroring something back to me. And it's like, oh, right. Okay. They bring you into this, like, it's an invitation for you to check in with yourself in a
Yeah.
holistic way, right? Like, it's not, they don't have ego. They don't have biases. There's no agenda. They don't have an attachment to the outcome. It's so instant, and it's so clean and pure, their feedback. So it's like a
Yeah.
safe place, because you're not hearing it from somebody going, you have boundary issues. They're not hearing that. They're seeing it
They
with the
don't feel
horse.
judged.
Yeah, exactly. It's like such an organic, beautiful way to kind of catch a glimpse of yourself. So it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. So,
Love it.
so amazing.
Thank you so much for all of that. It's just such deep work. I would love to get to hear more about how you're bringing things online. Like, are you offering telehealth sort of situations? Do you have set programming? A lot of people in the equine field, I've noticed over the course of COVID, have really been struggling with the online aspect of working with horses and how to bring that to the public. So how have you been successful with that?
I've been doing Zoom sessions, so virtual sessions, lots through that. That seems to have worked really well,
Fantastic.
because we still continue to have the conversation and unpack what's going on, and we reflect upon how the horses are communicating in their body language and everything that's happening between each other and with
Okay.
me. And it seems to have been very helpful for people. I've had a lot of people that have come back. So I didn't know how that was going to go, because when I first
Right.
started with in-person stuff, workshops, retreats, sessions. It was very different because you're in the space with the horse. But so I had this fear that people wouldn't get the same energy through the camera, but it has turned out that I was very mistaken about that, because it's been beautiful. And so then I just continue to share that. I share, sessions that have happened and different teachings that are unfolding in my own journey, of course. So yeah,
That's lovely. Yeah. Thank you.
good online.
Yeah, no, I've heard some positive results for sure from other places as well. But like in general, like I've heard a lot of struggle through the course of COVID while we've been on different Zoom calls, and as an industry in equineness and like learning and mental health, how we've been trying to support one another and collaborate, and how to functionally work with everybody. Now, have you opened up? Like, what's it like in Canada right now with the whole COVID situation? Are you able to now see people one-on-one? Or
Yep. They're asking that you keep somewhat of a social distancing, so you still sort of, don't hug and don't shake hands and respect. I know. I'm such a touchy person too. That's been a huge teaching for me with the horses, is you don't just walk up and start touching them, because I am a very touchy person. So
I feel
it's
you.
been actually it's been a huge lesson for me with other people, not just walking up and being like, let me hug you. So, it's been an adventure in person. So I've done, I think 3 since they've opened it up. I've done 3 in-person sessions, and you just respect each other's space, be careful of it, where they touch the gate, or I'm the one that usually tries to take care of that, so they're not touching a bunch of stuff, and just respecting space. But it's been perfect. It's been beautiful. Like, I'm so happy that it's opening back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there have been any particular emotions or traumas or different things that have come up more so with COVID going on in the different populations you work with? Like, what would you say those are?
Well, I think a lot of people are having a struggle in staying true to who they are, because they're all, like, I don't want to say our rights are being taken away, but they're, they can't go to work, their kids can't go to school, men can't provide for their families. I've heard from a few men that are struggling with that. And it's like, all of a sudden a piece of your authentic self is being taken away. And so it's a matter of finding out who you are without those identities and those roles. That's been really big for people. That's what, for me, that's what people are coming to me for. Oh no. Are you still there? Oh, I lost you.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Can you hear me? No, it's fine. The universe is like, oh, that's so exciting. I want to talk about it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's been so beautiful, because people are getting to see another part of themselves, right? Like, you're unpacking, we identify with our roles so much. Like, oh, I'm a vet assistant, or, I'm a dental assistant. Like, that's what I do. And then my kids go to school and they play hockey, and now all of a sudden hockey's been taken away and work has been taken away. And so it's like, now what do we do? And it's like, well, you learn to enjoy yourself, and you find other hobbies, and you spend quality time together. And it's been pretty beautiful. I've really enjoyed watching people sort of uncover another layer to their authentic being. So
that's really cool. I can relate to that a lot, as like when I had my first low back surgery, like I was dancing all the time, like 3 to 5 times a week. I was doing a lot of massage. I was riding my horses. I was hiking. Like, dance was so much, being so physical was such a key part of who I was, and identified as like a dancer. And that was like all of myself. Right. And then I had my back injury, and I couldn't dance anymore. Like, I couldn't ride, and all of my coping mechanisms were just stripped away from me. And I was just like, who am I as a person if I can't dance, and I can't ride, and I can't work? And and it's a big deal to have everything suddenly ripped away from you, and have to like get really honest with yourself and relearn how to cope. And I feel like a lot of people are like you're saying, like people are having to find new ways to cope, because so many of their coping strategies have been taken away from them. Functional coping strategies or otherwise.
Yes, exactly.
Like a totally new
and a lot of stuff was suppressed, I think, when you go through the motions of life, and you're going to work and then coming home and you've got kids, or another side business. Because I know I've got a couple of clients that are not moms, but they have a side business at the end of a full-time job. And so it's all of a sudden, all of these things are changing, and it's kind of like, okay, what am I going to do next? Like, who am I, and where do I want to go, and what do I even like? And now all of a sudden, things that you've been suppressing start to resurface, because you've got all this time with yourself. And you're like, oh, I didn't realize I hadn't dealt with that childhood wound.
Right.
I didn't realize that I was craving these foods every day, or I was eating this because I was masking something else going on in my life. And that's, of course, the holistic nutrition is in me coming out. But it's like, when you're craving something, there's usually a deeper meaning to it. Or, it's like, we find it doesn't have to be alcohol or drugs that we cope with, but it can be, we can have an addiction to anything. Yes.
Brownies,
it can be
definitely brownies.
Yeah.
I totally didn't eat like a entire pan of brownies in the last 2.5 days.
I'm telling you, it's so common because it's like, their coping mechanisms, and sweet foods are related to like love and calming.
It's not stressful to close my business at all in the next 4 days. No. It's got nothing to do with the entire pan of brownies I just ate.
Yeah, exactly. See,
I'm fine.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I'm laughing so much. Life is so much about perspective, right? Like, I feel really blessed because during COVID, I found my life's purpose in getting to do global equine affiliates and raising, the visibility for the equine world, and really focusing on my life coaching and helping people with the emotional regulation and everything else. But it was definitely like a conscious choice, because not being able to work for 3 months because I was state mandated to close my massage practice, like I could have spiraled really hard and just fell into apathy. Like, it would have been super easy. Like, I gave myself 2 days to grieve, and then I just hit the ground running. But that comes from a lifetime of doing interpersonal work and, learning how to have those boundaries with myself and a healthier self-tape. And so, and I also don't have children, just for the record. So like I don't have a partner, and I cannot imagine how hard it must be for people right now to be in those situations and suddenly have their children at home, and still, like, some people working from home, or if they're not working from home, trying to figure out like how they're going to make ends meet. And like, my heart so goes out to those people, and like the whole other like levels of stress and how they're trying to manage all of those things. I just, it's a lot. I'm so grateful that there are people like you out there in the world that are getting to partner with people to help them through that experience.
Yeah, it's such beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this field of work is so beautiful because it's such a safe place for people to go through these things. Because, like I said, horses don't judge; they don't even care. They just want you to be real. They want you to be authentic. They want you to be congruent. They want you to show up and be wholeheartedly yourself, whether you're in pajamas, whatever it could be. They don't care about the money in your bank account. They just want you to show up and be real. And so it invites people to come and feel all these stressful feelings and to let it all out, and then find a piece of them that they've been suppressing or missing, and heal it, and then go through that transformation. So it's just such a beautiful form of work. I'm so excited to be an Equus coach. I'm so grateful.
That's super cool. Like, speaking of obstacles, like, you're fairly new to the field, right?
2 years. Yeah.
2 years. And you work with a business coach.
I do. Casey Villard, amazing woman. Love her to pieces. She has been profound for me, because when I first started this, I had this theory of like, and I still do, but my way of running an online business is like, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Like, truly, it is. I'm like,
I totally understand.
Yeah. And so she's been really like, pick one thing.
Yeah. I keep hearing that over and over. They're like, no, like, you need to keep narrowing. And I'm like, and then all the things. And they're like, no, like,
no, well, because then you become a master in that, and then it runs itself. Then you create the next idea. But of course, as entrepreneurs, most of us have a bajillion ideas at once, and we want to do all of them at the same time. And then we end up leaking energy and not being our best selves in where we want to show up. So yeah, she's been really good for that, because now I've been able to launch this program that I believe so wholeheartedly in, because it's my heart and soul in it. So it's been amazing. I'm so grateful for my time with her. So grateful.
That's really fantastic. What would you say your biggest obstacle probably was in like being able to pursue your dream and start your business?
Honestly, probably that whole concept of imposter syndrome, not believing that I was good enough. Yeah, not believing that I had the skills, I wasn't qualified enough. But the more I've undone the inner work and spent time with the horses and got the reflections and the messages from them, the more I've been able to see that that's just ego and false self, and my authentic self knows what I'm talking about. I've got, I'm the expert in me, just like you're the expert in you. No one can do all the trainings and your life experience, everything we've been through to be who we are today. No one else can relate to that. So it's like, we're the expert in ourselves. So that is really definitely one of the bigger obstacles. And then of course, COVID, I definitely had to do what everyone else did and kind of shift course on how I'm going to offer this work. But it's actually, COVID has been a blessing in one way for us as well, because I ended up moving to beautiful British Columbia. And I'm launching a certification program for the people that want to step into this work. So
Yeah, which is so cool. Can you dive a little deeper and talk about that certification process? Like how long is it? How much does it cost? Like how many people can you have?
definitely. So
Etc.
it's this round, I'm calling it a beta round. It's kind of like the testing round.
Sure.
And it's 9-month container, and it's broken into 3 portals. So the first portal is like self-analysis and personal development. And that's going to be where I tie in a lot of yoga philosophies and holistic nutrition and living and lifestyle stuff. And it's just going to be all about uncovering our authentic self so that when
Fantastic.
we move, yeah, well, I'm such a believer when you take a training that you kind of, when you're about to take in a whole bunch more information and step into these big spaces, you kind of need to release what's no longer serving you, right?
For sure.
Yeah, fears and wounds and limiting beliefs and toxic patterns. So we're going to do all of the unbridling in the first portal. And then portal 2 is learning the language of horses. And we're going to dive deep into behavior, communication, safety, herd dynamics, among so many other different things. And then portal 3,
Biomechanics.
oh yeah, so many different things. I know, I'm so excited. And then portal 3 is like co-creation with Equus. So the first stages of your business, the first 2 years, because I love to stay, I believe so wholeheartedly, and staying within our scope of practice. So
Oh, thank
all I
you.
can speak to is, my first 2 years in this work and all my training. So I'm going to be pulling that and launching that in portal 3. So I'm so excited. So the only thing that's required for people from this first beta round is going to be testimonials and reviews. So
Oh, that's so
yeah.
cool. God, what a gift. That is like, you guys, that what she's offering is worth crazy amounts of money, like $8,000, $10,000, like
Well,
easy
I'm
peasy, like
charging,
at least.
yeah, I'm charging 7,777, but that's because it's the first round. The next round's
See,
going to go up
she
quite a
didn't even
bit.
tell me, she didn't even tell me the price before when we talked. And I said $8,000 to $10,000. See how that works sometimes? It's
Yeah, you are a wise woman. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's going to be profound. And so because I'm asking for reviews and feedback and testimonials, I thought it's like a $2,500 savings. So I'm so excited, and I'm holding space for 10 women in the program. And actually the early bird pricing ends June 30th, and you get to save another $1,000. So
Awesome. June 30th, coming right up, ladies and
yeah.
gents. Like, okay, so you said ladies. So is it only for ladies?
No, it's for gentlemen as well. Sorry.
No,
It's
you're
so many
fine.
more women that call me and come to me. So it's just been kind of my MO with my blogging and pieces of my work that I share. It's mostly been women, but I have put my coaching practice with a few men, and it's been very beautiful. So it's for both,
Okay,
definitely.
cool.
Yep. And it's launching August 18th with the new moon.
August 18th with the new moon.
Yeah.
I love it. That's super cool. And so like what have some of your retreats been focused about?
Well, I speak all to like inner truth and authentic living, because I think for your relationships, for your business success, for your health and wellness, you need to be in alignment in mind, body, and spirit. And that moment, that alignment, that congruency is your authentic self and is your piece of inner truth. And that doesn't mean that it's all light and holy. We're obviously going to go through challenges and pain in life, but embracing that darker side, because we all have the light and dark. I always show my yin yang tattoo because I'm such a believer in both pieces being interconnected, that light and dark.
Yeah,
So we all have that piece. And so it's learning to embrace it and learning your process, and then learning how to embody both pieces together. So I speak a lot to inner truth and authentic living and wholesome living and mind, body, and spirit alignment.
that's super cool. I like to say that you have to embrace your shadow to dance in the light.
Yes, exactly. 100%. And horses are beautiful catalysts for that, because they only ever see that inner truth. That's all they know. So when people come out to the herd, and that's been my transformation with them. And that's the beautiful thing about this work too, is that a lot of people that start this have had their own journey. Like I share some of the women in my training. One of them is a medium, and she's tying that in with the horse work. And another woman comes from the corporate world, and so she's tying in like leadership with the horse work. And my journey with them has been all about finding my authentic self. And so that's my partnership in medicine with my herd. And each of us have our own sort of avenue. And so that's what my retreats focus on in my workshops and my sessions, is all about really anchoring into your authentic self and moving forward in a holistic way and helping other people. So of course, this certification is for people that want to do this work. But I still also offer coaching for people that just want to catch a glimpse of themselves through the eyes of a horse, and really see that truth and learn their truth and heal their truth and unpack their truth, and, anchor into the good stuff and embrace the bad stuff, and just learn how to go through life in that sort of authentic, honest way, because it's so important. So, so important.
That's fantastic. And so for like your sessions, the one-on-one, do you have packages? Like what do you charge for the packages and for your single service? Like do you do just one-offs? How do you usually format your coaching
Yeah.
sessions?
That's a good question. So I've been doing 6 months because that seems to be what's been working with my clients. They've been wanting to come back for more. So we've done 6-month containers, which are around $4,600, and that's one-on-one, and that's with the horses and then Zoom calls in between to be able to maintain the work.
Uh-huh.
And I was doing packages of 4 before COVID hit. That was like my main thing. I was doing packages of 4, and that was, I want to say $950, around that price.
And is that for like weekly or when
It
you do
was
the
however
6 month
they
stuff
wanted to use
or?
them. They just bought a package of 4 and then they were able to book them when worked for them. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the 6 month package. Like how
oh,
often were you doing it during the 6 months package?
um, well, my first client, when we first started it, we were doing 1 a week and it ended up being way too much. So I played with that down and we did bi-weekly, and that seemed to be good. I like to do bi-weekly sessions, but even if it's one horse session, like bi-weekly session and then a call and then a session and then a call kind of thing,
Yeah.
that seems to have been my last, I don't know, dozen clients. That's what we've done. It's been one session and then a call bi-weekly. So rotating
Right
them.
on. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And then
Thank you.
virtual in between, because a lot of people I work with now are on like over, oh wait, no, they're not local. So a
Yeah,
lot of the times it's a couple sessions with the horses over Zoom and then a call and messages and emails in between.
that's perfect.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to be able to have access to your coach because you're hiring them for something, right? Like you're looking for something. You're drawn to them, first of all, because of their energy and their medicine. And then to just have access to them like once a month is just seems so wrong to me because it's important that we're there for our clients to help them raise their vibration and heal and transform and move forward. So I like to be able to have, I don't have business hours, like they're welcome to write me anytime. And if as soon as I'm online, I'll write them back, whether it's 6 in the morning or 10 at night, like whenever I have a minute, because I don't want to be like, you can only contact me twice a month or I mean twice a week, something. So
No,
definitely I'm so flexible. I don't really have any like anything structured. It's basically, I call it client led because it's what they need and what's best for them and where they're at and what they're moving through and what their goals and needs are. So
yeah, that's perfect. I love that you brought up vibration. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're referring to when you say vibration for people that don't quite, they aren't keyed into that terminology?
yeah, definitely. So when I say raise your vibration, what that references to is to our energy level. So we're all energy beings, as we know. And so when you vibrate at a certain place, you're going to attract things at that level, right? You vibrate and you attract at that same level. So when you raise your vibrations, you're taking care of yourself. That doesn't mean you have to be a certain body size. That doesn't mean anything specific. It's what's best for you, because I don't think health and wellness and raising your vibration is a one size fits all, right? It's not a one approach for everybody. I think it's so different and unique. What works for you might not work for me and vice versa. So when I talk to people and we bring it up in sessions, a lot of the time raising our vibration is doing what's best for us. So there's that self-care piece. There's, therapy or coaching or whatever you're needing for support. There's looking at those childhood wounds. There's looking at those limiting beliefs. It's all the things that hold us back. And then birthing who we truly are on the inside is how you're going to raise your vibration. It's bring your energy level up. Really intentional movement. So it doesn't have to be hardcore exercise. It can be a walk. It can be some light stretching. It can be CrossFit, whatever calls to you.
Whatever calls you.
Yes. It's like, really, it's about intentional movement. It's eating for your body, what feels good for you. What being a vegan for somebody might be totally opposite bad for somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
So raising your energy up. Yeah. It's bringing what's best for you out into the surface and then moving forward in the world, practicing those practices. And that's what raises our vibration. That's what brings our energy levels up. And then we attract things that are up here, the things we want: business success, loving relationships, a healthy body, all the things that are up here that we're striving for down here. You can't reach them if you're down here. You have to come up here. And sometimes what happens is when you're vibrating down here and you're raising up, things that can't come up with you, which might mean relationships or toxic patterns, they fall away as you move forward. So it's a bit of a fine dance, but it's important to do that because sometimes, like I'll just bring my marriage in for an example, but I was raising my vibration and my marriage had to end for that to happen. So
Can you talk more about, I'm sorry, hold on a second. Somebody's trying to, I think maybe use some chainsaws in the background. So I'm like, yeah, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go close the window really quickly. Can you talk while I go shut that really quickly about science? since we just got to talk about vibration, science, and how we wrap that into what it is that we do.
Okay. Maybe
Science stuff.
The science, like the neurology.
Yeah, neurological stuff with horses.
Okay, perfect.
And health stuff. Sorry.
Okay, sure. It seems weird to be talking to myself on the camera.
Only give me like 15 seconds.
Oh yeah, definitely. So when you think about the neuron pathways that we're creating, what happens is horses don't have, they have the same like emotional part of their brain, but they don't have the analytical, logical part of the brain. So when we're out with horses and we're, you know, thinking, obsessing, analyzing, being logical, problem solving, and what they do is they feel and they use their emotions as information. So that's an intuitive, it's their instincts, right? So that's what happens is like, we're like, oh, I need to solve this problem and I'm obsessed about the past and we're stressed about the future. And horses don't understand any of that because they don't have that part of their brain. They're like, oh, I'm feeling this emotion. How do I best need to respond for survival? And so is that what you mean? Am I answering your question?
Well, there's so many different things that you can bring into that. I'm like, there's no wrong answer. It's just like whatever. That's the beautiful thing I love about these interviews. It's just like, it's free form. It's not about any set expectations in how we should be in life, right? We just should be present and be honored for what it is that comes to us in each individual moment, because that's what is supposed to be heard by whoever is listening to us and watching us here today.
Definitely. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was what you were meaning.
Yeah. And so for instance, like with horses, like what she's saying is that horses live in the moment. That's one of the beautiful things about them. And that allows us to be able to be present and learn so many different things about them and their nonverbal communication and their interaction as a herd and the social dynamic. And I feel like their social dynamic very as similarly mirrors the social dynamics that we have, which is what helps us work through metaphor to be able to engage with the horses and go to a deeper level with them. When a horse engages with another one. So for instance, you've got like a younger horse pestering an older mare, and the older mare like takes out and nails them in the hip. And but then she immediately goes back to grazing because she's not going to hold a grudge against that younger horse for being annoying and like irritating her or whatnot. And it really helps us to realize that when somebody engages with us in a way that's dysfunctional, it's important for us. We hold our boundary. We communicate it to the other being, and then we can let it go. Because we communicated our line. We communicated our needs because we're responsible for ourselves. We're not responsible for that other person. And we're just going to go back and not hold a grudge.
Yes, exactly. They don't hang on to the past, but they also don't stress about the future, because if they were stressing about the next, you know, who's going to be coming into the pasture, they'd be wasting precious energy, which is actually very important for them to hang on to for survival in case of a wild battle, right? So it's important that they aren't stressing about the future or hanging on to the past, because they can't expend that energy or they'd be a dead horse.
Right.
It's blunt, but it's true. Like they have to be very careful with how they use their energy for survival.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny.
I know, it's such a blunt way to put it, but it's just so much.
Yeah. They're just like, if they were anxious all the time looking for that coyote that was going to try and like eat them, they'd just be like, you'd never get to eat. And then they would just die. They would die of starvation because they were having such high anxiety all the time. Exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about the horses getting to be in herds, because then they help to keep each other safe. You know, you have the sentinel and you have the stallion and you have the alpha mare and the dominant mare to be able to try and like lead them. She knows she's the oldest. She knows where all the best water spots are and the best grass. And, you know, it's just, I love them so much. Can you tell me a little bit more about like who inspires you?
Oh, that's such a good question, because there's so many people.
Tell so many. There's no.
Okay, well, I'm going to start
no
like
limit.
Closest to home, and that would definitely be my children, because in my parenting, it's just the truth, like working with the horses and going through my journey of health and wellness and getting my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health, and my spiritual health all aligned and balanced has been wholeheartedly so that I can create little beautiful humans and send them out into the world and who are balanced. You know, they're going to go through all their stuff as well. That's part of the human experience, but it was really important to me to show up as my best self in my parenting and as their mama. So They
You're a
definitely are
good
my first
human. That's
inspiration.
the way
Yeah.
that it should be. Always showing up the best you can for your kids. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. And so that they can show up. They're going to
Yeah.
be they're going to be adults affecting the world and the collective one
Yeah.
day. And I want them to be good human beings. So it was
Role
like, okay,
modeling
that's
is
the
important.
role model. Yeah, exactly. So they're definitely my first and foremost. And then I would say few of the women that I went to my training with, so I'm going to drop their names and I hope they don't mind, but Jenny Lincoln from Lincoln Speaks, she's profound, 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 profound. My friend Tony Weed from Fire Horse Equus Coaching, amazing,
Love
amazing,
it.
amazing. And then Kim Grenling from Bloom, phenomenal woman, phenomenal, phenomenal woman. And Roxanne as well. She's pretty amazing. I think it's Valaire. I hope I'm saying that right, but she's pretty special. So I'll definitely, I'd love to be able to, these links you had mentioned.
Yeah, I'm going to put links to all the people you get to give shout outs to underneath
Okay,
the
good.
description, and make sure everybody gets to be validated and seen for the wonderful impact they continue to make in the world.
Oh, it's so profound watching these women. It's just amazing. And then those are women all work with in the horse world. And then a few other women that I've really been inspired by lately. One of them is Ruthie Cease. She's phenomenal. Love following her. She inspires me all the time to do better and show up better. She does
What?
Reiki and
Oh,
business coaching. So she is cool because she speaks a lot
cool.
to energy. And then I think I already mentioned Casey, my coach, who I just love to bits. She's phenomenal. She does a lot of like inner alchemy and embodiment and just beautiful.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love the embodiment work. It's, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's profound. So, and then who else is out there? I mean, you had mentioned Oprah before we recorded, and of course she is like, I just love her story and that how she's just dug herself up. One of my biggest
Yeah.
goals is actually to be on Own Soul Conversations. Like one day I want to sit there and talk to her about horsework. I can't wait. So
You should. Maybe
yeah,
maybe we'll get to go there together.
I'm in. That'd be so much fun.
Let's make it happen. Make it happen, Kevin. Anybody out there,
Yeah, definitely.
connect us up.
I'm totally inspired by you. I think what you're doing is
Oh,
amazing.
thank
So
you.
yeah, it's the truth that this is beautiful what you're doing. So
I
thank you
really
for having me
appreciate
be a
that.
part of it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Like, I feel very honored to get to be here, and you're very inspiring as well. Like, all the things that you're doing and how you've diversified and brought it all together. I love people that have just like dived so deep into the work and the training that you're trying to provide for other people and just empowering others. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty special. I feel so grateful and humbled that I get to, yeah, help other people on their journey. And then, of course, like I mentioned, horses, because that's the thing is they've been used for workhorses. Beasts of burden they've been referenced as that many times in many different books and programs. And it's true. Like if you think about all they've done for us over the time, like they're prey animals. Their biggest instinct is to run away from harm, and yet we've trained them to go into battle. Like these horses have shown up for us our entire time here on earth. And
It's true.
it blows my mind that
they go
can
into war.
I know. And it's like, these animals are fight or flight. What are they doing? Like,
I know, right? It's just
yeah,
phenomenal. The connection and trust they must have like with the people that are riding them. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And so this is
service.
a different way to work with them because it's all done on the ground, right next to the horse without any aggressive tack or force. It's like they're free to engage at their own will, because I truly believe wholeheartedly that the medicine that's meant for the client in that session will happen. That horse will come over and it'll all happen organically, because you can't script this. I can't go out there and be like, hey, I need you to show up this way today. It just doesn't happen that way. So
Yeah.
it's so profound. That's the beautiful piece to it, is it's just so natural, it's so organic, and it's so profound. It's so beautiful that horses are. I love that I'm able to kind of impact the way that people are seeing them, and they're not just used as tools anymore. They're kind of seen as sentient beings, like you said.
I love that. Yeah, it's been coming up a lot in the different interviews that they're not tools. And I think it's so important that we get to touch on that they're not tools, that they're sentient beings that we're having the privilege to connect with. Because horses are, we're talking about like 2,000 pound animals sometimes. I mean, unless you're dealing with a mini, and then they're like significantly smaller. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but horses, if they wanted to, they could absolutely kill us.
Oh yeah,
They could. They could kick us, they could bite us, they could run us out, like whatever. And yet they choose to partner with us.
Yeah.
And obviously it's our responsibility as caretakers of the horses and facilitators of the work to create safe horses to have these people partner with. but they're still animals. That's why whenever you go to work with horses, you'll see giant signs that be like, riding is inherently risky, like ride at your own
Yeah.
risk. Like it is like,
Yeah.
but we also drive cars down the road, which I feel like is definitely riskier than working with horses. So you pick and choose what you
Yeah,
do in
exactly.
life.
And horse safety, that's a huge piece too. I think that actually is such a powerful teaching in this work, because when you teach the safety, it's like the horses are not responsible for us when we're out there. We're responsible. We
No,
can't put that on
100%.
them.
Yeah.
So it
We are
brings us
responsible
like,
for ourselves.
yeah, so it brings you to this place of like awareness of yourself and how you're using your body and how you're emitting your energy and how you're approaching the horse and how you're, just acting and behaving. And it really brings you into like a present state of awareness. And it's so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful gift.
Can you imagine if people were all like they honored their interactions with humans as much as they honored their interactions with their pets and the horses, and like how different would the world be if we just did that one thing?
I know. I say that all the time, especially because now that I've been through a divorce and moving through co-parenting and all the bumps that comes with that. And it's like, okay, if I can go through the challenges with a 1,200-pound animal, I can definitely go through this with my ex, and we can get through this because I can treat him no differently than I can treat them, right? Like that's been a powerful teaching for me. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. It's one of the things that I love doing with kids, or any person really that deals with being bullied, because the amount of confidence that is instilled in that human being when they get to functionally and respectfully interact with this 1,200-pound animal. And then you're just like, well, you got that animal to move that weighs way more than the person that's bothering you at school or at work or like wherever at home. And to be able to come inside of themselves, and there's just a renewed confidence. It's such a beautiful thing to watch people like blossom into
Yes.
themselves and empower themselves and no longer be at effect of the bullies and their environment. And
Yeah. It's so powerful. It's
such
such
powerful
beautiful.
work.
I know. I'm so grateful that I stumbled my way here. Sometimes it still blows my mind. It's like all along I'd had this niggling my whole life to have horses in my life. And I didn't know how that would unfold, of course. I didn't even understand it. So I suppressed it and suppressed it. I went through my journey with yoga and nutrition, trying to find my way. And this calling kept niggling me. And as soon as I listened to it, like I found my purpose, and I'm, creating ripples of like health and wellness and holistic living and the world for humans and horses. And it's just like, man, this is powerful. This is so beautiful. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I just love, a lot of people have this confusion that they, for whatever reason, are not able to live their dream. They're like, oh, that's for somebody else.
Yeah.
I can't live my dream. And it's so sad that that's the reality for so many people. And I think that it's so important for people to get to hear stories like yours and the other people that I'm interviewing, and how people have taken, you've all had different obstacles that you've had to overcome, and that you were able to transcend those spaces and honor your authentic self and the dream that you had, and you made it happen.
Heck
It's
yeah.
it's new, but you're still making it happen.
Yeah. And I talk all the time about unbridling from the things that hold us back and then birthing our wildest dreams into the world. So I love that you brought that up too, because I literally blog about it all the time. That's so profound to me. It's like unbridle from all the stuff and then birth the stuff that you want. It's so powerful. Like yeah.
It's amazing stuff. And part of it's so important because a lot of people, they're so stuck in the trauma of their life experience that you haven't even worked through that to discover who you are inside of yourself, to know what your true purpose is in this world. So like, what is your dream really, beyond all the different pieces that you need to work on? And you don't have to wait to unpack all of that stuff in order to pursue your dream, because dreams can evolve.
Oh yeah.
It's just important to get rid of that negative internal tape and that self-sabotaging behavior, and to be able to have strength is being vulnerable. A lot of people see vulnerability as weakness, but it's really just incredible strength to be able to step in a space and find the correct people that create that safe space for you to be in that container, right?
Yeah.
For you to show that vulnerability and have somebody to help guide you, because every person has the key inside of themselves. They just need a guide to help get them there and send them in the different places, because you don't know what you don't know in life.
Yes.
you know, and sometimes I like to think of like the problems that show up in life as sometimes like a kaleidoscope, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so for those of you that don't know kaleidoscope, just think of light. Okay. So light is all of the colors like going through a crystal and then you get
Yeah.
white light on the other side. So just think of all the colors of the
Exactly.
rainbow that get to be distilled down to white light. Okay. So when you have a problem, sometimes you'll think about it and then you'll change your behavior. But then the problem comes up again. But the next time that the problem comes up, you come to it with a new mindset. And so while it looks to the outside world like it's the same problem, to you, it's actually a slightly different experience because you've evolved. And then you get to change. And so it's like a prism, right? All these crystals that the light come through. And so you solve one part of the problem, and then you come to the new mindset and you solve another part of the problem, and another, and another, and another. And people are like, why do you keep making the same mistake? And you're like, because I'm not done with it yet.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
and then one day you evolve enough because you've fixed, like you've worked on all the different things inside of yourself, and you've changed and evolved your mindset, and then the problem no longer occurs because you've come to completion and understanding.
Yeah. So
And
true.
yeah,
So true.
and then once you come to that understanding, then you get to help the next person.
I use that, like, that's such a great analogy because I talk a lot about how our triggers are often suppressed stuff, because what happens is we suppress things that, and then we get triggered so easily by different outer surface stuff. Meanwhile, it's like it's manifesting as illness and disease. It's manifesting
Absolutely.
as, regular triggers. It's manifesting as toxic patterns and addictions and
And the
habits.
people you pull in.
Yes, and so it's like when you start to look at your triggers as actually like a horse, they use their emotions as information to make changes in their world and how to respond effectively. When
Yeah.
you kind of embody that horse sense, you're like, oh, okay, this is actually trying to teach me something and show me something. And then all of a sudden that problem falls away. So that's why I like to refer to that as like embodying horse sense, because they really use their emotions as information. It's so powerful that way because how often do we get triggered and then we stuff it again? So then we get triggered by the same thing because we just stuff it. We don't speak it. We don't heal it. We don't look at it. We don't invite it in. And then we also don't believe in ourselves. Can I
Yeah.
actually do this? Or, is this even my problem? Is it me? We put the blame on other people. And it's just so interesting how we don't want to look at our problems and our emotions. And yet those are the powerful teachings for us to make our life even better and to bring our dreams in and to bring health and wellness and balance into your world. So yeah, the kaleidoscope is a great analogy.
Thank
Good one.
you. Yeah, it's mindset is just so important. Like when I have dysfunctional thoughts that come up into my own head, I just think about like, okay, how does this serve me?
Yes.
And if it's not serving me, then I have to change it. And I
Yeah.
have to address whatever it is that is required in that moment so that I can flip it into something that does serve me.
Yeah.
So it's about not shaming yourself for having thoughts that are non-productive, but to just like be like, okay, I see you over there, and now I'm going to shift you because I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes. You're not going to run me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
you're not going to run me anymore. Like we already did that for a super long time, and I'm done with you.
Thanks for teaching me.
Thanks for teaching me. Thanks for
Yeah.
reminding me that like I haven't totally like managed this yet. Like sometimes when you don't have as much bandwidth, you're like, oh, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great. Like this happens to me sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited, everything's doing
Yeah.
great, and then something will happen that's like really frustrating or whatever. And then I'll find myself being a little bit more agitated than I logically know is appropriate for a response to that. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, like my good space is not quite as deep as I thought it was yet, because I'm like, while
Yeah.
I'm building it, I'm like, my bandwidth is like, oh, it's so small. It's like you're like skating on super thin ice. You're like, no, I can do it. Everything's great. But if I like
Yeah. One toe pick, you're down.
one toe pick and you're like,
Yeah. Exactly. It's
and
so
then you're
true.
just like, ugh.
It's
So
so true.
it's not that it's a false experience in life that you're not being authentic. It's just like when you're on the front end of rebuilding yourself, like you've dealt with depression or whatever,
Yeah.
anxiety or trauma, and you're in this beautiful space of evolution and you have the support. It's super important to have grace and patience with yourself, because like
Oh,
when you're first like healing yourself,
yeah.
you're still going to have those moments when you just don't have as much bandwidth and stuff is going to hit you. And it's like, just because you have those feelings come up doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you're fake. And it's
No, the
just,
best part is to feel them. That's the point. Is like when those come up, those are real. So
yeah,
embrace them. They're like, why are you here? What are you teaching me? And allow the messages to be an intuitive piece, because that's again where the horses are masterful, being prey animals, right? They're intuitive beings. And so it's like, take that information in and think, what are you trying to teach me? And you'll be so surprised by what will come up. And so that's where journaling and meditation are so profound, because then you can listen to your soul and all those triggers and emotions that come up that are real. And like you
yeah,
said, they're not even
absolutely.
close. It's the stuffing it and then pretending to be okay, which is the fake false stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And like, it's just feel, it's like, feel the fear and do it anyways is a phrase that I absolutely love, because it's important to not, like, you can feel something, but don't hold on to it. Like, you don't need to hold on to it, because when you hold on to things, then that's like when things layer and you become overwhelmed like so much faster than you normally would, you know?
yeah,
And
definitely. Totally.
yeah, like we all been there. You guys,
Nope.
like even the most, like all the people that are making millions of dollars and other people that inspire you, like coaches, like everybody's human. Like everybody's gonna have an off day. You might not see it on camera, you might not see it in the office, but that doesn't mean that they don't have their own interpersonal struggles. And I think it's so important for people to remember that, because a lot of people put people up on a pedestal.
I've done
And
it. I'm guilty of that, thinking,
y-
"Oh, man, they're amazing." Meanwhile, it's like, "Oh, yeah, they have stuff too, man. We all do."
yeah,
And the bigger we get, and I don't just mean in like successful ways, but I mean like the more healing that you do, sometimes there's even more because it gets deeper and deeper. And that's when a lot of childhood stuff
absolutely.
comes up, because you're like, you do the surface stuff when you first get started, right? The immediate stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this trigger comes from like, my dad abandoning me as a child, or whatever your story is, or this trauma happened. And it's like, I didn't even remember that. Like I suppressed that so bad. I had no idea that my eating habits, my relationship problems, my failing in my business, whatever it is stemming from a simple thing from when you were like 8 years old. So it's really, really, really important to look at that stuff like with a magnifying glass, like really.
Yeah, and finding people that do coaching that really focuses on like attachment theory stuff. Like
Yeah.
I love the work that Chase Gibson does.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's just amazing. We'll hopefully be able to get her on here for that one of the interviews. And but
Definitely.
like natural lifemanship focuses a lot on attachment theory. And I was talking to one of my friends. I used to go to college with her at Prescott College, Brittany Frade in Utah, and she does EMDR and she does attachment theory work with the horses, and she does telehealth. She's just like remarkable what she does. And but yeah, attachment theory just resonates so deeply with me, because I feel like so few of us have a secure attachment, right? You have
Mhm.
people that have fearful attachments and dissociative attachments and anxious attachment,
Oh,
and all these different things that come from the wounds created when we're young, from like 0 to I think it's like 7,
yeah.
primarily. And but that also that those attachments can change over the course of time if you have more traumas that can shift you, that we're stronger. But then that's about the unpacking, right? Because
Yeah.
we can become securely attached. Like when we were born into this world, we were born as perfect beings, and everything is life experience. And there's no reason why we can't get back to those spaces of purity and functionality and like loving, secure attachment and all those things. Every single person, regardless of their history, is able to get back to those pieces. Like some of it just might require a little bit more support and time than others, but it can
Yes,
still be
exactly. You've got to
unraveled.
invest. You've got to invest the time, the money, the interest. Like you have to invest to be able to do that. It can't, it's not something that you can just do on your own, or you shouldn't do on your own, in my opinion. Like I'm so grateful for all my coaches and mentors and healers and gurus that I've had over my time, who, by the way, have all had their own human experience and have their own stuff. But yeah, I'm so grateful for them, because it was like having someone it was, I always call coaches like a lighthouse, right? You're like in the middle of
Oh,
a
that's
storm,
beautiful.
and there's like this light shining, like, come over here, it's safe over here. And you
I
just
like
follow
that.
the light. So yeah, it's been so powerful to have coaches and mentors and therapists and whatever you're needing in your world, and nutritionists, like whatever it is for you. But it's
Yeah.
really good to invest in yourself, the time, the money, the work, like all of it. Make time for it, right? Like schedule an exercise like you would a doctor's appointment. You don't quit on yourself, right? Like put it in your day planner. So you're like, okay, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock a.m. is when I'm hitting the gym, or my lunch break or after work or whatever it is, but you've got to make the investment. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the growth mindset is incredibly important. Also, finding the abundance mindset is incredibly important. Like you, ladies and gentlemen, like look into that if you don't already know about it.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay becoming uncomfortable in realizing that within that discomfort, you will not die.
Yeah, good one. That's so true though.
I
Yeah.
mean, the dysfunctional qualities of life that you've been experiencing might die, but you won't.
Oh, you're going to grow.
You're
You're going
gonna
to
grow and
evolve.
you're going,
Yeah.
yeah,
Bloom,
you're gonna evolve
flourish.
and
Yeah.
have a better life. But while being uncomfortable is not always a fun experience, it's a very necessary one to be able to like reach your goals and dreams in life and have better relationships with people and better communication and boundaries, and just a better understanding of self allows you to be the purest aspects of your authentic self. And there's no greater joy in life than getting to be your authentic self and be with someone who is also getting to be their authentic self, which is why having both you and your partner is really important to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add on that, but there was a period in my life when I was like so in the discomfort and with resistance. And as soon as I surrendered to the discomfort and embraced the discomfort, it went away. It shifted. It was like, what? I sat there for 2 years and struggled because I resisted it. Then as soon as I surrendered to it and trusted the universe's plan and trusted the process, it shifted like
Just like,
almost overnight. It was
yeah,
unbelievable. And
it's
so I
pretty
always
amazing.
surrender to the discomfort, because that is actually where your biggest growth will come from. Just like a seed, right? It's got like, it's planted in the dirt and now it's got to get up to the dirt and then push through the dark, moist, heavy dirt, but then it sprouts and it blooms into whatever it's meant to be. But you have to grow through the dirt and then push through the dirt. So yeah.
And not judge your process against anybody else's, because
Yes.
everyone else has a different life experience and you don't necessarily always know what that is. And even if you did know what that was, like the rate at which people change, they do it on different gradients. And that does not make anybody better or worse than another person. It's just a different life story. And so
And
like,
remember, you don't see all of it.
and you
Even
don't
if
see all of it.
someone's telling you as much as they can, there's still something they're not telling you. There's still their whole internal world that you don't know about. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's like comparison is death, you guys. Don't do it. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Live your own life, have grace. Like if you want to compare yourself to the place you were before and how much you've grown and kicked ass. Like that's what you should compare yourself against.
Yes,
Like,
that's so true.
yeah, you want to be competitive against yourself. Like, and if you want, there are functional ways to be competitive, like in a team environment to lift people up. Like that's great. But that toxic content, like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much toxicity. Oh, and like toxic leadership. I could talk about that stuff all day long. We've got so much toxic leadership going on and just across the board in different ways in life, and the importance of knowing that there's masculine and feminine energy, and there's toxic masculine energy and toxic feminine energy, and like the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine, and how that comes up in all of us, and understanding that there needs to be a balance of the feminine and masculine energy in each of us, male and female. Like it's a balance that needs to happen. And what, like how that presents itself is so fascinating. And I'm really looking forward to getting to bring somebody on soon.
Yeah, talk about that.
And to get to really dive deep into talking about the masculine and feminine energies and coaching and
yes.
it's gonna be a fun one, not to be missed. None of them are to be missed. There's so much like amazing stuff packed in every single one of these interviews. I feel like I'm doing every time. I'm just like, what?
I'm excited to watch a couple more.
Thank you.
I've only watched a few this morning before, but I'm really excited to watch some more. They're really beautiful.
Thank you. I'm amazed you made it through a few, because like some of them are kind of
they are. I might have only made it through 1.5, but
it's okay. I won't judge you for it this time.
But I'll watch the rest and then you'll get all my messages.
Exactly. We're like, I expect in-depth reviews of each of my interviews. So can you talk to me briefly a little bit more? This interview has been so long. I'm like, did we go over this already? Which is great.
We started talking like an hour before we even.
How long have we been on the call for even? It's like, oh my goodness gracious. It's like 4:00.
2 hours.
Holy camoli. Wow, you guys. This has been super fun. I was just going to ask really quickly,
Yeah.
again, what are some of the key populations that you work with?
Well, it's been mostly women, and it's been mostly women on sort of a holistic journey that are looking to bring in and raise their health and wellness and kind of step into their inner truth. So a lot of times, women that are feeling lost, not just women, but it's just has been more women. That's all I mean when I say that, but women and men who are feeling lost and disconnected, broken, moving through grief, lots of life transitions, sort of in a, not a suffering place, but in a place where they can't seem to move themselves out of, and they're just feeling so lost and disconnected from themselves. So that always manifests again as those physical ailments and, in their relationships and in their career and their parenting and in their health and wellness. So it
Right.
starts to bleed into other areas. So really, it seems to be the people that are hearing my messaging, because I know when I started this business and hired a coach the first time, she's like, who's your ideal client? And I was like, well, the general
Heard that
population.
too.
Yeah, it's like really hard to choose, but
You're like
as
everyone.
I know, so it's been funny to
They
see
all
who
need
my
me.
message is reaching, right? You're like,
Right. Yeah.
who's hearing me, who's coming to me. And so it really seems to be, because my story was a lot about feeling lost and disconnected, yo-yoing with my health, because I wasn't doing anything from an authentic space. It was
Yeah.
all about how does it look on the outside, keeping up with the Joneses, the picket white fence, the rock hard body, all of this outer stuff that wasn't making any sense. Meanwhile, I had this dream to be with horses in my life. My inner cowgirl was ready to, she was bucking, ready to come free. It was like, I wasn't anchoring into my authentic truth. So anyone that's sort of feeling lost and disconnected from their authentic truth, who's trying to find their way on that holistic health and wellness journey, anyone who's served to help other people and who want to take this, certification, who other people that want to serve the collective, who are called to horses. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, that's great.
It's good. Okay.
No, I love it. Every single person that I interview so far has had a different population that they've been serving. And that's what I just love about getting to increase the visibility for the equine field, because people see that how diverse it is, how many different types of people and the things that they're struggling with that we can help. And yeah, so
Beautiful.
oh, wow. So it's been like an hour. It just power packed with depth and transformation and empowerment. So we're going to close it out for today. And thank you so much to you for your time and everything that you give to the field. And thank you for our viewers today for sticking with us for a whole hour.
Yes, thank you.
And I hope that you've enjoyed our interview today. We'll have more coming up soon. The next interview is with a lovely lady in Australia. So I love it. It's just so fun. Well, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.